Fingerstyle acoustic blues, that's what we're talking about today. It is absolutely my favorite style of guitar to play, and you know, my favorite genre in the blues. Ever since I heard Eric Clapton playing Hey Hey on the Unplugged album, which is a cover of a Big Bill Broonzy tune, I was hooked, and I've been hooked ever since. And you know, I've followed the path back to Robert Johnson, and then guys like Mississippi John Hurt, and then you know, today you've got Keb Mo out there, who's just a real, you know, innovative finger picking player. And you know, I've worked on this and worked on this and worked on this, and at first it can seem really frustrating, but when you break this stuff down to its core essentials, you really just kind of come down to the rhythm, and then the lead that you're playing, the melody that you're playing. And of course there's some chords thrown in there here and there, but if you take each piece and just really work on the rhythm, and then move on and work on the chords a little bit, and then move on and work on these, you know, licks, which surprisingly most of the licks are pretty simple. They're, you know, using a free finger or something, and they're just simple melody lines. But anyway, by the time you put all that together, you get something like the piece that I was just playing, which is a tune of mine called Low Country Blues. And I'd like to take that song and break it down and kind of show you what I'm talking about. It's a basic 12-bar progression in E when you look at it, but you know, there's some cool tricks and flair here and there that you can do. They're really typical fingerstyle acoustic blues stuff. But we'll break it down, and today we'll start with the E chord and just kind of work through some of the things that I was doing there on the E chord, and then we'll move on to the A and to the B and then to the turnaround. And I think by the end of this series you'll get a real good feel for the acoustic blues, and what you can do, and where you can really take it, you know, to write your own stuff, or you know, grab a lick that I'm doing and throw it into your own piece and really make it your own. So with that, let's get right into the lesson. Alright, so with our guitar in hand, I want to show you what I worked on when I was first getting started with the fingerstyle blues on the acoustic guitar. And like I said before, we're going to hang out in E and eventually go through the chords and do an E blues tune in a 12-bar format. But to get started, I can't stress enough the importance of getting down this bass line thumping sound. So I'm just going to hit this on a quarter note type deal, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just get this rhythm going where you can do it. I mean, no matter what you're doing, watching TV, tapping your foot, bobbing your head, talking to somebody else in the other room, you got to be able to have this just linked to your internal clock. And once you have that, oh, and by the way, I'm not using any picks on my thumb, and I'm not using any picks on my fingers either. First of all, I can't really figure out how to use these picks, so if anybody knows, man, give me a message and shoot me a message and let me know. But I always seem to snap a string whenever I use these things. But I do use a thumb pick from time to time. But for this first lesson, I want to just ignore this guy and pretend they don't exist. I just think you know, there's something awesome and something very cool about being able to go to a guitar with nothing but your hands and create some really cool music. So most of the time I leave the pick out for that very reason. But anyway, but to get that real kick drum kind of thump sound that we're looking for, you know, the beat, I do have my palm on the string, on the bass strings back here, and I'm really muting kind of heavily there, so it just gives it that kind of thump sound, you know. Alright, now what I also do, or what I did starting out, was I'll fret an E major chord, and I'll dedicate the top three strings, the G, B, and E, to these three fingers, my index, middle, and ring finger, in that order. So I've got my G string, I've got my pointer finger dedicated to that string, my middle finger is dedicated to the B string, and the high E string gets the third finger, or the ring finger. And I'm not really going to do any crossing over or changing of that order. I find it helps me to just really isolate which finger goes where, so or picks what strings. So I like to keep it in that order, which I believe is what classical guitarists do as well. So it's just kind of convention. Although I'm sure if you go back far enough, you'll find a lot of older blues guys that just picked with whatever, and that's cool too. But this works for me, so I wanted to share it with you guys. So the exercise that I did starting out was I would thump that bass, and I would strum, well not strum, but finger pick these all at once on beat 1 of the measure. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Keeping that bass note, keeping it going the whole time. And I moved it there to a really cool spot. Once you get down doing it on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, try moving it. I moved it there to an in-between. I'm not actually hitting the bass, so it's almost like an upstroke, if you will. I'm picking and then strumming and then picking again with my thumb. So it's thumb, fingers, thumb, 1, 2, 3, thumb, thumb, fingers, thumb. And it's you got to get the timing down right on this thing. 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, bum, bum, bum. And to me, when you can do both of those things, pick on the 1 beat, and by the way, you want to be able to move that to the 2 beat, the 3 beat, the 4 beat with no problems. So, we did it on the 1 before. Let's hear it on the 2, and then I'll move it to the 3, and then I'll move it to the 4. So here we go, moving it through. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you want to be able to move the chording around to any beat of the measure that you want. And then also, then you can throw in those little in between. So like something like this might happen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So after you've got down just the straight beat and picking on the quarter note, then you want to move on to picking on an 8th note. So you would do something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you can practice that and you've got that down so that you really have some independence of your fingers and your thumb, you're not just always picking them together. You kind of seem to break up the muscle a little bit and get the fingers thinking on their own. When that happens, you want to take it one step further, and that's to then get the fingers to work independently of each other. And the thing that I'll do for that is just a simple lick with my pinky when I'm working in E, since it's just hanging out. And there's some really cool bluesy notes here that you have access to. The minor third, the open string, or the root here, and then this D note, and then back to the E. So I might do a lick, just something simple like this. Okay, and I'm picking here just to show you more of the lick, but I will use that strict finger rule that I told you earlier. So let's see how we can throw that into just a quick E chug. 1, 2, 3, 4, 2. The only other thing I did there was to hammer on to my G string. So I added in this this finger, my first finger on the G string. as well, and that's a classic move when you're playing this in E. Sometimes that's all you need, is just that little. Alright, so to recap, you really want to focus first on getting that bass line going, just that quarter note thump, getting your palm muting down, and having the notes really evenly spaced apart. It provides that glue that just kind of cements the rest of the piece together. So that's step number one. Number two, you want to move on to playing some chords and really getting your fingers to be able to work together and pick a few notes simultaneously. And then after you have that down, where you can actually move through the different beats, like we talked about, the quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, or the in-between, the eighth notes, you really start to add some rhythm to this thing. And then after you have that down, you move on to a simple melody line or lead line, a lick if you will. And it doesn't have to consist of much, just a couple of notes, 3 notes in the right spot can really add a lot. So I hope you found this useful, and come say hey over at bluesguitarinstitute.com, and let me know if you have any questions on this lesson, or if you'd like to see a lesson on some other topic. Until then, take care. Thanks.